I'm Chris Gianetti, and I am the Assistant Superintendent for Jackson Public Schools. And today I am here with our two strength and conditioning coaches at Jackson High. I have Crystal Brinker and Alex Beneux. Welcome, guys.
Thanks for having us.
You're welcome. So we are super excited about these positions here at Jackson Public Schools. It feels like it sets us above everybody else. So my question is, first, Crystal, can you tell me about your background and how you kind of came to this job?
Yeah, so I grew up playing lots of sports. I went to the University of Michigan, got a degree at the School of Kinesiology in 2020, and then kind of my junior, senior year, and after that I started doing some sports performance internships at various places, and just formally before this I was interning at Ferris State University with all their athletic department. And yeah, I just really wanted to stick around with athletics, and I never really was exposed to the strength and conditioning realm in high school, and it wasn't really encouraged for any of the girls to ever be in the weight room, and I kind of realized how much of a difference that can make, and yeah, I just thought it was kind of the right thing for me to do.
Sounds like a good fit for you.
Yeah.
How about you, Alex? How did you come about this position? What's your background?
So I too was involved in a lot of sports in high school, and then I got a bachelor's and master's degree from Arkansas Tech in strength conditioning studies. During both of those degrees, I did multiple internships at University of Arkansas State, Louisiana Tech, and then the University of Georgia. And after those internships, I knew that I wanted to connect with kids and actually try and teach them life lessons, and I didn't feel like I could do that as much with kids at the college level, so I thought the high school level would be a better fit for me.
It's a great place to start with kids in this field. So is it nice that you're both getting paid finally after all those internships, right?
Yes, it definitely does not hurt.
Yeah, I can imagine. So kind of if you could sort of run me through, what are you doing with students, and sort of then if you could chime in at any point to talk about exactly what kinds of things you're looking to accomplish with students in this field.
Yeah, I think obviously we work primarily with the athletes, but we do come across a lot of non-athletes during the school day. So just from a base level, just kind of teaching them, how you should approach the weight room, good techniques, stuff like that. From a more athletic standpoint, I think my primary goal is to keep them healthy for as much as possible. I think a lot of people misinterpret strength and conditioning's goal as just being to lift the house, and for me that's not really my goal. I want to keep them healthy, active, injury-free. That's my number one kind of objective.
Yeah, and like Crystal said, I mean, both of us, our main goal is to keep them healthy because availability is the best trait. I mean, obviously if they're hurt, then they can't perform on the field. So going beyond that, we really try and focus on more of the sport-specific abilities that they need. So depending on football, basketball, all the other various sports, we try and hone in on what is needed for that sport and try and train that, as opposed to, like Crystal said, just making them strong as a house. They have to be able to perform the different movements needed for that sport.
And I think it's interesting too, because we as adults just go off to the weight room and think we know what we're doing, and I think this is a valuable lesson for kids to learn early on, so that when they, after high school, want to continue a fitness program, they're well informed on how to do it. So, and that's a life skill, really. I mean, I think that's something that we all should have learned early on, because true, we walk up to the weights like we're supposed to lift 80 pounds and we can't, and we're like, oh, we're weak, So are you guys teaching during the day, or are you visiting classrooms? What happens during the day for your schedule?
We're not necessarily teaching. We kind of accompany the teachers in the weight room. So, we're not there to take attendance and such, but we are present during those weight room classes. So they'll always have two adults, either a teacher and one of us, or both of us after school in those team lifts.
Yeah, and I would say we're more there to help with the non-athletes, because a bunch of them haven't had any experience in the weight room. So we're there to help them with form and show them how to actually perform the movements, so that kind of takes some of the stress off the actual teacher, and they can watch the students while we actually help them hands-on.
So do you work with all sports, correct?
Yep.
Yes.
Yeah. So what are some of the techniques that you're teaching them?
really, before we start doing any like weighted movements, we want to make sure that the form is correct first, because obviously we don't want to create bad habits that could lead to injury. So we have different progressions that you start with, like the base level, and after they can proficiently perform that movement, then you start to advance to different techniques.
And when you are working with the students, what are some of your challenges that you find with this age group?
I would say one of the challenges that I think is kind of a new issue is definitely the presence of social media. So there will be kids who come in and they're like, well, I saw on TikTok this, and this, and while it might not necessarily be like a bad movement or whatever, sometimes there's conflicting thoughts on like what our goal is for them. Like, well, that's not the risk over reward. We don't really need to do that exercise for you. And a lot of kids, their goal can be aesthetics, which I don't like to focus on, especially with growing kids and their bodies are changing and all that stuff. So a lot of kids will say, well, I just want to have really big biceps, or, you know, I want this and this and that. And I guess kind of overcoming some of that can be a little, it's a process, but it always ends up coming to work out for us, I think.
And I would say for me, since I'm newer, it's more of gaining the trust of the athletes, so that when I'm coaching them and like trying to help them, that they actually believe what I'm saying and take that to heart, and not just think that I'm some other person telling them like, hey, you need to do this, but I actually have their best interest in mind.
Right, making relationships is really important, and especially at the high school level with students. And I think I can understand what you're talking about as well, that they want immediate results, like we all do, right? And that's it's hard to help them understand that this is a process, just like learning is a process, right? Your body takes time to adjust to new things. What sports have you worked with so far, student-wise?
We've worked with pretty much all of them. So obviously our football team comes in a lot. Our swim teams come in really regularly. Boys soccer. We have a gymnast who also lifts with us.
Golf.
Basketball, tennis. A couple tennis players come in. So pretty much everything.
I mean, it always feels like a college level offering from us to provide strength and conditioning coaches, just because it's at the high school level, it's something that's sort of a new idea coming, and I think its end result really has to do with keeping everybody healthy, right? And so being able to teach people how to lift, how to stay healthy, how to be safe in their own sport, because everybody goes all out and they forget that their body is in the way, right? You know, that something could happen, and we've seen that. But I think that we'll see over time that injuries will be less and knowledge will be up. And I think that's a great aspect. Now, what other types besides the weight room conditioning and training are you working with?
So in the summer, we worked with a couple teams. We worked on conditioning. So we went out on the turf, and obviously it'll be much more convenient, one, with two of us, and two, we can do the conditioning 4 steps from our weight room. It was a bit of a hassle to walk them across the parking lot and unlocking gates and stuff. But we do some conditioning. Right now with our basketball boys, we're working on some speed and agility, kind of learning how to run type of stuff. So we do address some of that as well.
Yeah, and then we have like plyometric things such as jumps, hops, skips, things like that just help increase athleticism as well.
And balance and those kind of things. Do you get requests from your coaches on things that they like to see from their students?
Yes, I mean, like we definitely take into account like what they want from the team and try and find like an equal balance of what we believe in and what they want as well.
The results they want to have, right?
We definitely, when I first showed up, I kind of tried meeting with the coaches that urgently wanted to get in the weight room with me, and we kind of went over, you know, what have been your common injuries? Are you guys, you know, slower than you'd like to be, or this, and that? And so we did have a kind of generic outline for what some of the coaches desired out of their team.
Right. And I would imagine the bodies are so different, right? Because your age range is right from 9th grade to 12th grade, and so I imagine that there's a whole different, where they're in puberty makes a difference, I would imagine.
Definitely.
For sure.
Do you have to go lighter in your approach with younger students, or is it just less repetition, or how do you manage those different types of students and different body types and different sexes as well?
Right. So, I mean, obviously the older kids, they probably had more experience with maybe not weightlifting, but maybe being in the gym. So their training age may be a little bit higher, so the amount of years they've worked out. So they may be able to do more difficult movements as compared to the freshmen, who we may have to start them off with like a base level movement just to make sure that they're performing it correctly before advancing. So there definitely is different variations that you have to use for the different ages.
And I know you mentioned that you work with non-athletes. So how does that come about? Are there gym classes that you're getting involved in, or how do you meet the non-athletes and work with them?
Yeah, so we have 6 weight training classes throughout the day. And a few of them are either sport specific, so we have a wrestling strength class, and we also have like a couple athletic, so those are supposed to be the athletes, but then we also have 3 or 4 just general strength training classes, and we do have some athletes sprinkled in those, which is nice because there are some leaders in there who might be a bit more comfortable in the weight room, but yeah, so we are in those classes with those non-athletes, and I guess for me, my goal is just to get them comfortable in the weight room, because going into college, I was a gym rat as far as, being on the court, on the field and stuff. Going into a weight room was a new experience for me. So my goal is just to make them understand what they're doing, what their bodies should be moving like, stuff like that, keeping them healthy.
And for me, besides what she mentioned, my goal is to like get them to understand how important being active is, because you're not going to be young forever. So as long as you can develop good habits, like you don't want to be the person that's old and can't move around and still do the things that you enjoy. So really the goal is to like help them understand the impact it can have lifetime as opposed to just now when you're young and trying to look good.
So kind of on that note, what are your thoughts about the facilities here at Jackson Public? Have you seen something like this, or is this amazing?
There's colleges that don't even have something this nice. So, it truly is incredible. And like even during our classes, I hear some of the kids saying like, hey, we got to make sure and take care of this. Like this is extremely nice. And so it's nice to see that some of the kids really know how lucky they are to have something like this.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, and it's my thing that I always say, like, if you're not a Viking, why are you not, right? Especially if you're an athlete, there's definitely the facilities here for which to really excel at what you do and be supported to do it. Well, we're super grateful that you guys are a part of our team. We feel like you have set Jackson Public Schools above, just another portion of our programming that really makes us set above everyone else. So I wish you guys luck this year, and I hope maybe it does advance out to you staff, because I'll be your first.
Wonderful. Thank you for having us.
You're welcome. Thanks for coming.